Hey everyone, today we're digging into some really powerful ideas from the book Grow Your Mental Health. It's all about how you can become the architect of your own inner peace. And to really get into it, we have to start with a feeling that I'm pretty sure we've all felt at some point.
You know that moment when you just hit the floor? The book nails this feeling right from the start. It's that brutal, clarifying moment when you realize you're not a machine, you're human. And what's so powerful is that this isn't about failure. Not at all. It's actually the starting line for a huge breakthrough.
Okay, so what is actually going on in our heads when we feel completely overwhelmed? I mean, what's the biology behind that breaking point? If we're going to learn how to rebuild, we've got to understand the mechanics first, right? All right, so at the heart of all this is something called the HPA axis. You can just think of it as your body's main stress response system. When it senses a threat, any threat, it pumps out cortisol. That's your emergency fuel. And hey, it's great for getting you out of a dangerous situation, like right now. The problem is, it was never meant to be switched on 24/7.
And a huge part of that system is the amygdala. This is your brain's threat detector, kind of like a super sensitive smoke alarm. Now, you want a sensitive smoke alarm, right? But what happens when it's been going off for so long that it starts treating burnt toast like a 5-alarm fire? That's what chronic stress does. It makes the amygdala go into overdrive, keeping that alarm blaring for things that aren't even real threats.
So when that alarm is always on, it leads to what scientists call allostatic load. And that's just a fancy way of saying the long-term wear and tear on your body and brain. It's the cost of being in a constant state of emergency. And this is the really crucial part. This isn't just a feeling. Over time, it can physically change your brain, affecting things like your memory and how you handle your emotions.
So let's just be super clear about this. Hitting a wall, breaking down, it is not a personal failure. It's not a weakness. It's biology. It's like an alarm system that's been blaring for so long it's completely drained the building's power supply. The system did its job, but it simply ran out of juice.
Okay, so that's the tough part. That's what's going on under the hood. But here's where everything changes. And this is the really hopeful part of the story. It turns out our brains are not stuck like that forever, not even close. There's some incredible science that shows us there's a way forward.
For the longest time, the belief was that once you hit your 30s, your brain was basically set in stone. You were stuck with the wiring you had. That was the old story. But the new story? It's completely different. We now know, thanks to so much research, that your brain is always changing. It's plastic. And that means you can intentionally reshape it, your habits, your reactions to stress, at any age. This is an absolute game changer.
And that amazing ability has a name: neuroplasticity. It's simply the brain's power to rewire itself by creating new connections. Think of it like carving new paths through a forest. And the best part? It's not some passive thing that just happens to you. It's a process you can actively take part in for your whole life.
Now, this isn't some kind of magic wand we can wave. As the book puts it so well, neuroplasticity begins with choice. Consistency compounds. It starts with you making a choice, but the real change, the deep rewiring, comes from showing up and doing the small things day after day. That's where the magic really happens.
Okay, so this all sounds great, right? But how do we actually do it? How do we take this amazing science of neuroplasticity and apply it to our own lives? Well, let's get into the practical side of things. It's time to open up the toolkit.
The book lays out a really simple 4-step method. The first step is to just notice. Notice your patterns, your reactions, but without judging yourself for them. Step 2 is to engage. This is where you deliberately practice something new, firing up a new pathway in your brain. Third, you reframe. You learn to look at your old triggers in a new light, changing their power over you. And finally, you integrate. You do it enough that these new, healthier habits just become a part of who you are.
And I just love this next quote because it really sums up the whole mindset. You are not broken because you have habits that hurt you. Not at all. Instead, you are invited to become the deliberate architect of new ones. It shifts the whole thing from fixing something that's wrong to building something new and amazing.
I know, rewiring your brain can sound like a huge, intimidating project. But here's the secret. It's not about massive, sweeping changes. It's all about the power of tiny, almost ridiculously small actions. Let's see how. How small are we talking? How about 1 minute? Seriously, the book suggests a 1-minute pause. That's it. Just 60 seconds a day to stop what you're doing, take a breath, and name one thing you're feeling. It sounds like nothing, but doing that one tiny thing consistently plants a brand new seed for calm in your brain.
Okay, ready to level up? Let's go from 1 minute to 2. This next one is a little nightly practice called the 2-minute memory reframe. And what it does is actively change how your brain files away the stressful stuff that happened during your day.
And it's so simple. At the end of the day, you pick one stressful moment, just one. You ask yourself, okay, what can I learn from this? Then you try to tell yourself a new story about it, one that's about growth. And then you just jot down one word that captures that new meaning. That's it. It's a tiny little ritual that teaches your brain to look for lessons instead of just looping on the stress.
All right, so we've covered the biology of overwhelm, the science of hope that is neuroplasticity, and a couple of super practical micro actions. Now we get to the big one, the idea that ties it all together, creating your own personal rulebook for your mind.
Just think about this for a second. In a world that is constantly pulling you in a million different directions, what if you had a single page, just one piece of paper that reminded you how to belong to yourself before you belong to anyone or anything else? What would that be like?
Well, that's what the book calls your living constitution, and it's made up of 3 simple things. First, your core values. This is your why you do what you do. Second, your commitments. This is how you're going to live out those values. And third, your behavioral promises. This is the what. What will you actually do when things get tough and stress hits? It's your personal game plan.
And really, that's the whole point. This isn't just some document you write and forget about. Your constitution is your compass in the chaos. When everything feels overwhelming and you feel lost, this is the thing that points you back home, back to your true north. It gives you the power to navigate absolutely any storm. So it kind of leaves you with one big question, right? What would be the very first rule you'd write in yours?